You are watching the CCA podcast. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are here again. I'm Q France. Behind the scene, you know the man, my boy John McLeod is behind the scenes. And tonight we have a guest, right? This guy, first of all, he's my before picture when I was in like 1996, before I grew the beard in the boy. He is the most accomplished calisthenic athlete to date. And we're gonna describe why on this podcast. He is one of the most stone-faced, cold as ice brothers you will ever meet in your life. He's a good friend of mine. I met him when he was very young to now, and this man has accomplished more in his lifetime than you might ever do in a week or 20 years. He is my boy David. You all know him as D-Real, Team Wingate's own. What's up, D? What's happening?
What's going on? Glad to be here.
How you been, man? Over COVID, how you been? How you been dealing with this whole situation?
First of all, I want to say to everyone out there, I hope everyone is doing well as well with everything that's going on. Clearly, yes, we are going through some real rough times as it is. But overall, in the focus of everything that, we're dealing with every single day, that's just the nature of life as it is. I follow by this motto 24/7. I take one day at a time. I don't try to, rush anything or try to do anything a little too slow. I go at a pace that allows me to keep moving forward where I need to, and I adapt as I go. To try and put yourself ahead of everything, and there's constant fluctuation and changes going on, and then you have to reset yourself as you go. I always like to go with the flow of everything, and as I'm going through that motion, I am constantly adapting and prepping myself to accomplish what I need to. But overall, in the mix of everything, it's been rough, but I'm blessed. I'm glad to be alive every single day, see the people I care about, friends, family, loved ones. I have a roof over my head. I still have a job, and it's just a blessing by itself, and I can't ask for anything more other than just to know that what I do have is the best that I have, and I'm working with it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. That's about the best answer I could get for these present times, man. The fact that you're still working, still able to do what you need to do, take care of yourself and the family, and you keep that positive outlook, because we're going to get through it one way or another. We have to.
We have to. In the midst of all darkness, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And, as long as we can stay in that positive route and always try to look for that little glimmer of hope or light, grab onto it and just enjoy that route, because we're gonna come out of this.
Absolutely. So now we're going to get back to the nitty gritty. I remember, I don't know if you even remember this. Years ago, I met you at Wingate, right?
Yeah.
First of all, this is one of the most, he's a member of Team Wingate. Everybody knows Team Wingate, Brooklyn Zone. And I remember going to the gate with Powerhouse one time, and Doc introduced me to you. You were a little bit out of shape at the time, and you were on the bar. You were the same stone face. You just said what's up and went right back to work. And we kind of watched you. I talked to Powerhouse about it. We used to kind of watch you and watch your work ethic then. And then as soon as the competition realm started, I was like, this dude is still on it. Like, he's still on his game. Where does that mind state come from? Like, you seem like you're unfazable. Like nothing can break you. You come in with a purpose and you plan on following through no matter what. That's what I see. Where does that mindset come from?
That mindset didn't really come from anywhere as much as it was created. Mm-hmm. That mindset growing up for me, I was like everybody else, growing up playing, in the park. And, for people who know what Wingate was before, that workout area wasn't there. Originally, it was a playground, the basketball court, the track. That section was literally just storage facility for, the concerts and everything that always goes on. It was a giant ramp, where, people walk into, and the crates and everything that's there. Little by little, I always remember when I used to pass by playing basketball and stuff like that, started to become what it was. But I never touched that area yet. I was always still in the playground, basketball court, stuff like that. till one day I just told myself I want to go in, and I didn't really do anything. I went in and just saw everything that was there. I was, back then more into, my martial arts and so much other things in my own realm, keeping to myself. Still very quiet, didn't know who to talk to or, represent where anything was coming from. And one thing led to the next. And, I just, started to, maneuver, just sit down and just constantly watch. That was something that I always had growing up in general, was if I didn't know anything, I analyzed. I always sit there and just watched and watched and watched. And, I kind of copy what they're doing. And maybe at some point I'll try it on my own, but I didn't ask any questions. I just sit, analyzed, and watched. But it was, like I said, it was all created more than it resonated from somewhere,
Okay. So, did you play any other sports? Like,
grew up, played a lot of sports, always trying to prepare the mind through positive and negatives to know exactly what to, prepare yourself for is something that you should always look at, whether it is in winning or losing or anything, because that's what makes us better naturally.
right.
And going in, I was shocked. I didn't expect to see, guys, moving like that. And I was just like, yo, this is crazy. On the inside, I was like a little kid, but
Right.
I tried to be as humble and true to myself, but I also tried to just keep my guard up. And, I didn't want to look intimidated, but I just kept my guard up to look like I was strong and I was ready to tackle whatever was going to come my way. And there was a lot of people that I saw there. And, there's a lot of guys that Doc was always telling me to keep an eye on. And, to this day, I now understand what he meant by a lot of these things, but he always wanted me to humble a lot of these other, athletes and so on. And I didn't really granted at that time, really get it as much as I do now.
Mm-hmm.
But in the focus of everything that we went through, I'm so honestly just proud and happy and so comforted to know that Doc saw so much potential in me. And with all the hard work that we went through, that determination that we had 24/7, he also saw that envision in so many other athletes. And, I believe he felt that in me, like I portrayed that.
Mm-hmm.
Portrayed something that so many other athletes wanted as well. And it wasn't something that you could just give to me or, just like teach. Like you also had to learn this yourself.
Right.
And it's
Right.
something that I felt like kind of was maybe inside of me from the beginning and just needed to grow and nurture and, resonate on its own. And it finally did. And from then on, I started to realize where some of these athletes that have so much of that hunger and potential, you can be loud and rowdy and crazy, it's your persona, but, where does your control, come from, And that was something that I started to really understand the meaning of where that humbling point of view came from. And, we follow by this motto 24/7, each one teach one, and it's something that really resonates with me very well. I don't just use it in calisthenics. I use it nowadays in anything.
Right.
Because we're never at a point where we know too much. We're always capable of learning still to this day and absorbing so much and growing within ourselves, but growing with each other as well, as families, friends, comrades, or even as enemies, we grow together. And we still learn 24/7. And I stuck by these mottos 24/7. So coming into the light of this competition, it was truly humbling. It was truly exhilarating, and I felt super hungry.
Mm. See, that's the key word right there. Hungry for it, because you always showed that. You always showed that. I've never seen a moment where you strayed away from a challenge. You always the first step up to it, and you always performed. You always put out a great performance every single time. Even if you would get second place in something, everybody knew whoever got first pulled out something amazing, because you always showed up 100% for everything. How different was doing a freestyle competition as opposed to doing a reps competition? Like your mindset.
Not that different. my mindset was still the same. The determination, the focus, the drive, always stayed exactly where it needed to be. It never deviated and, lost itself. Sometimes I felt like I need to try to really focus on collecting myself and keeping, my mind to myself, telling myself when I'm ready to go, with so many people trying to push you and drive you into these competitions, you can lose focus. There's so much energy around you. So I always try to pull the ones that I need closest to my ears to keep me in check, but I'm always focusing on myself. I'm very tunnel vision. I stay, on the path, and the path is, when those bars comes or wherever that obstacle is in front of me, and I tackle it. So the difference between the two wasn't really much. It was the only thing that was different was the execution.
Okay.
What needed to be done at the time. If it was with freestyle, we know where the focus of freestyle is. You have, the minute, to, do what you needed to do in the bar. And like I said, when you're going into a competition, going into anything, before you go into it, you need to prepare the mind and analyze the starting point, the middle, and the end, the full, process to the ending of that outcome. And I processed, when I looked at the bar and I saw the people go before me, they always came down to, control their stamina and then go back up, or they messed up on a trick. My task at hand was to always stay in the bar for that full minute round and never come off.
Right.
Was to keep myself active and keep those tensions going 24/7 and keep moving through it. If I only came down, it was only really to go to the next bar. But even then, I didn't come down. I tried to stay on it and think, well, how can I get from this end to that bar without coming down?
Right.
And then my mind started to play with those maneuvers, and I thought, all right, go into this move, then transfer into this move, then execute here. And then by the time I'm done, executing those moves in my head, my body is starting to project those movements.
Okay.
And then my body just got me from point A to point B because my mind already executed that way before my body went into motion.
That's key. That's a major key. Now, for everybody who doesn't know, the NBXA format was that you pretty much had to stay on the bar.
Pretty much.
And still use all of the pull-up bar area.
Yeah.
So you get extra points if you move from the high pull-up bar to the low pull-up bar to the ladder. So when you said it's an hour, a minute and a half or so, that was a minute and a half on that bar. Your foot could not touch the floor. Yeah. Otherwise, you would get penalized. And you still had to do reps at the end or the beginning.
Unless, you slipped.
Right, right.
Then you were able to get back up. But then, points, if I believe, were deducted a little bit in the focus of what it was. So you had to really be careful,
Yeah, yeah.
The bars, that whole environment that you had is your stage, and nobody wants to see you fall off the stage.
Absolutely not.
So you got to stay on it, and you have to utilize your entire board, to execute what you want to do and show the fans and everyone that what you do is, it has a form of art by itself. It's executing it as beautiful as you can and, as clean as possible.
So NBXA, ICF, UFL, pull-up hard jam. Is there anything you haven't won at? First of all, for everybody watching, this man has won the largest prize in competitive history, at least on the East Coast, ever. The largest prize ever was $5,000 to date on the East Coast, right? I can't speak for everywhere else. This was a competition in New Jersey, and this man won it. Flat out. It was the biggest prize. What did you think that calisthenics would become after that moment?
I don't even know, man.
Because you just won the biggest prize after winning mostly trophies and maybe up to $100 in previous contests, and all of a sudden here's $5,000. Didn't you jump on a cruise immediately after? I looked at that and I said, "That's a man after my own heart." Because Lord knows I love a cruise ship. I've been on at least 10 of them things, and I was like, "Boy, you did the right thing."
For anyone who's never been on a cruise ship, go. First of all, that's it. Just go. But no. I used that money wisely, and I did save that. So it wasn't really towards that. That cruise ship was just part of, nice family gathering and going for it. But, I didn't spend that money in the wrong ways. I used it wisely.
That's good. That's good. So at that moment, did you think that there would be like more competitions with higher prizes and bigger stages?
I didn't really know what to expect. All I knew is that with what we portray in calisthenics, the sky is not the limit. Like it can evolve into so many different avenues and develop its own stage and platform. And I really didn't know where calisthenics was going. I knew exactly what we tried to portray, and what we wanted to, express to the world and show that calisthenics is, if anything, the blueprint.
Right.
It's the DNA, it's the foundation to everything else that is fitness related, and not just the fitness, but mentally as well. You are literally taking your body that is structured physically and mentally, and you are molding that.
Right.
And the focus of what calisthenics was, even in our own nature as humans, we don't have an ending in our evolution. We keep growing, we keep evolving 24/7. So I never really had an image in my mind on where I wanted it to go, but I knew I saw that this had the potential to keep pushing past, pushing past the stars or the ceiling or wherever, and just keep growing.
That's true, because I remember you even helped host a competition at Wingate.
Yeah.
After that competition, and I appreciate that you did that, because like I said, it's one thing to compete, it's one thing to stand on the sidelines and watch, but to host and be part of and creating this culture and allowing other people to step into this realm is a key part of what we all do. Getting back to the competition aspect of it, who was your biggest rival, like coming up? Like, who did you know that you had to bump into every single time and they were that person on your toes? Because first of all, we were in different weight classes, right?
Yeah.
I was like middleweight, you were always in lightweight. And there was maybe one time, I think actually that same contest in Wingate, that we were actually in the same weight class, and I wound up getting second place.
Yeah.
Very controversial too, because what's this guy named Left? He kept saying, "Your chin done over the bar." I'm like, he's standing on top of the bar. You still can't see my chin. But who was that person, man? Because I know who it is, but I'm gonna let you say it. Okay, here we go. Everybody messaged me privately and said to make sure that you mention that epic battle, that push-up battle between you, Powerhouse, and Scott. At three-way, it was a tie, I believe, and they had you guys go for push-up till the end, and that was like a 10-minute push-up.
Yeah, literally, the video is straight through like a good 9-10 minute video.
Yeah, but who was that person that like you were like, all right, I got to make sure I'm ready for him every time?
Y'all want to hear it, huh? Y'all just want to hear it.
The people want to know. The people want to know.
It's Powerhouse. It is Powerhouse. And at the time of me meeting him, Doc gave me the heads up and told me about him and everything. He was showing me videos beforehand. And and not to exclude so many other athletes as well, like Doc mentioned, so Supreme, Hakeem, even in my family as Wingate, I kept my eye on everybody, Abs, Jomo, Doc himself,
Yeah.
Shout out to Super Mario, shout out to one of the closest people that I trained with all the time, but Dre. We were also known as like the double dragon of training, because we always almost pretty much worked out together. We pushed each other. So I really had a lot of faces on the map that I had to keep an eye out for. But when it came straight to the competition focus at the time where everything was going, Powerhouse.
Yeah.
The name resonates and says it all by itself. He literally blew my mind, and I can say this honestly till this day with everything that he did. You know, his technique and execution and just his form alone. I was just like, yo, did you see that? Yo, this man was on his wrist on the bar. This man was on his wrist on the floor. Clean handstand presses on straight bars and everything. And, you know, all of the direct moves of handstands are great. But again, what catches my attention is the execution. It's from point A to point B to point C. It's one after the next, continuous, you know, perpetual motion of just moves after moves in a flawless and clean, you know, transition. And that was something that I was just like, okay, I get it. You ain't got to tell me twice. I see it. This man is literally a powerhouse. I was just like, okay. And when we came down to that pusher competition, you know, you can't really tell on the inside of the person, but you know, I dug deep. You know, I dug extremely deep to find myself in this realm where it was like I can't be touched. You know, and you could see me sweating. If everyone hasn't seen that video,
yeah, there was puddles.
Find that video.
There were puddles
on
a hot summer day. There were puddles.
I was sweating, and you know, I had to really dig deep and to just to feel their presence still there as well. But at the same time, I had to detach myself from it and just stay where I am for as long as I could. You know, I just had to compete against my own body. And I know my body wanted to give up a long time ago. I had to keep telling myself, stick it, just stay with it, just stay with it. Scream if you have to, let out those roars, battle cries, whatever. You know, you're gonna make it to the end. And you know, we fought, and that battle was the most intense battle to me.
Yeah. I could tell you personally that I speak to Powerhouse quite often. That's a good friend of mine, and has always been. And he always brings you up. Always. He said, if anybody, any day, if they were to tell me that they would pay me $1,000 to battle D-Real, he'd jump on it. Because he said he still feels like you two still have like, you guys still have moments left. You know what I
mean? I do it for free. Against Powerhouse, I do it for free. You know, because it became so much more to me, you know, going against him. You know, I saw a lot of myself in him,
right.
You know, and it literally felt like I was battling myself.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like it was a complete mirror, and I saw in no way a different person.
Right.
All from top bottom to perfection to execution at the end of it, I saw myself in him, and that was something where I was like, all right, we got to do this again. And every time we got to a competition, to a new competition, wherever it was, and you know, when you're there early and you're waiting for everybody, you keep seeing everyone come out, and by the time everyone's there, you're looking around, you try to analyze everybody. I always looked for him.
Right.
It was like trying to find Waldo. I always looked for him. I was just like, yo, D, what's going on, man? Yo, get out of my way. Yo, D, yeah, what up, man? It's nice to see you. Yeah, cool.
Trust me, I know. Because he told me many times, I know that respect is completely mutual. Like it's definitely a mutual, and I love that. I love to see that when you guys had to go head to head, and we're just watching you guys to perform, because both of you consistently had the handstands and the style and form, and everything you did was unique. Also, you couldn't say that a Powerhouse routine looked like a D-Real routine, and vice versa.
Right.
Never ever. But we're going to drift away from the subject a little bit. How long have you been a personal trainer now?
Going on personal training now. So in the mix of where personal training is, you know, I do like to separate the two realms, you know, because you are a personal trainer outside and you are a personal trainer in the gym. Yes, the overall outcome of it, you are still a personal trainer, but I have been doing personal training calisthenics outside for going on, you know, 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming into the mix of now being a part in a gym, working at Equinox, and then the focus of that is going on 6 years now in that. So 12 plus years in total. But I do like to always tell people that the environment that you're in, you have to adapt to. And there is a different calling, for outside and then what people require in the gym. And you have to know, that those two are slightly different.
Yeah, yeah. So I remember when you told me that you were going to start working at Equinox, and I was telling you that you're in for a hell of an education.
Oh, phew.
Yeah. And you was like, yeah, I'm already getting all that information.
Yeah.
So how has the re-education about just modalities and everything else changed the way you go about your personal workouts and how you train your clients, as opposed to when you just were training people for calisthenics?
Huge difference. The transition into that focus has literally opened my mind to a whole new perspective on training. When I first started training in general, I was quick to tell everyone, you don't need weights, body weight 24/7, because I was a pure and prime example of that, progress and evolution and change with just body weight.
Right.
And I was just like, you don't need to touch weights. At that time we weren't even really touching weights, even in the calisthenics, like we weren't adding plates too often, only something small, but it was just body weight, constant repetition, high hypertrophy work and isolated movements and all of that. And, I didn't understand the value of weights, because I never even tried it myself, but I was judging it too quickly. And now coming into, personal training on the inside of a gym, that its utility and foundation is a school, as well as, an ongoing, process of growth. It allowed me to even pull myself back and humble myself, and tell myself to, before you judge this, analyze it, which I've always done growing up in general.
Right.
I always analyzed calisthenics. I always analyzed everything I did. So why, for the first time, I fell off from who I am naturally, and I caught myself, and I was like, oh, that's bad. It's not bad, but it's a process. You learn from that. It's little mistakes that you do, and I was like, okay, I gotta look at this in a different way. So I pulled myself back, and I broke myself down again, and I started to sit down like I did when I was in a park, and absorb and learn everything. And then I slowly started to incorporate everything. When I first started in Equinox, I still wasn't really touching weights. I was still in the point of just learning. Training my clients was still do a lot of body weight and functional movements, dynamic warm-ups and all of that. But then I was slowly dabbing into it. I would try when, a couple of my other coworkers would be doing weighted exercise, and I try and pick it up and do a movement or whatever it was. And then I put it down and I walk away.
Okay.
So I was still testing myself, still analyzing, where it was or where I needed to be. By my second, third year in, that's when things started to manifest and change. And that's when I really started to incorporate more weights into my foundation. And now I've found a nice system that allows me to progress, but also to recover, in the right format.
Okay. So what do you feel now about, like, when people say train every day? Now that you're been through all of the Equinox levels of education and learning how the body adapts to recovery and just recovery in general. What's your mentality now when everybody says, "Oh, I work out every single day"?
I still love naturally to stay true to that foundation of working out every day, only because, there are just naturally genetically different, there are just some people who are just genetically different,
Right.
You have a couple of those guys who can just be a little bit different than what other people can be naturally. But in the foundation of where it is, now that when we're talking about calisthenics and like weight training, all of this, that definition of training every single day does work in certain factions. It does work in certain areas. When you want to train every day in body weight, yes, you can. One, because it's an active recovery at the same time. So with functional movements, dynamic warm-ups and stuff like that, through all of that, you are allowing those muscles to stretch and recover because it's constantly through just muscle manipulation without really it being overdone as wear and tear, which the body naturally does, but through functionality and proper, mechanics and movements, you're doing so much better for the joints than you are, overusing them in that point.
Right.
When you get into weight training and all of that, that's when the status quo changes a little bit, because now you have to now warm up beforehand, and then you have to be able to go through those movements that require mobility and range of motion that calisthenics is pretty much the foundation of.
Yeah. Yeah.
But still, overall, between the two, rest is still important no matter what. You still do need to sleep. You still need to acclimate your body and eat and, drink and, stay fully hydrated.
Yeah.
You still need all of this to be able to do that. And for most people who didn't know, we did all of that in calisthenics. We would be in Wingate from like 8 in the morning till like 8 o'clock at night. And we did not go home. But what do we do from time to time? We'll take a break, go get some food, come back to the gate, and then go back to the workout.
Right.
We would do that all day. So we overtrain the body to exert a different type of energy in a different moment, which then, over the times when we started to deviate and have to take longer breaks now, what we've allowed the body to do is to take the time to collect all the years of that constant use in a day. And now we've given it the time to collect it and fully recover.
Okay.
So when you don't think about it, you're just like, oh, well, now, man, because of work and all this, I can't really get back to the way I used to train. It worked out for the better.
Yeah.
Because we're now able to allow the body to take the time to recover. And you would think like, oh, man, well, I haven't been in the park for like 6 months. I thought I gained weight or whatnot. You didn't. Right. Actually, you allowed the body to take the time to recover and refuel itself and heal all those scar tissue that we've done and put through our body. And all it did was now just stay really tight and, grow from where we needed to. Now we have to strategize differently because we have work and families and all of this. The body ages, it becomes a little bit more tighter and weaker. So we have to prepare a little bit differently. But if you take the time to analyze and look at it, it worked very well for us at that time because we were a different breed. But now coming into the generation that we are now, it still works out if you just take the time to prep the body right.
Right. Did you pick up any modalities while at Equinox that that you wouldn't have thought of even trying? Like, did you pick up yoga, Pilates, or something like that, and add that to your routine?
I did. Not yoga. I don't knock on yoga. I love yoga. I always joke about it, But again, when you analyze each foundation of a certain form of fitness, you have to look at its pros and cons. How can this benefit me with the exercise that I want to continue to do or add and stuff like that? Through the focus of being at Equinox in the baseline of being a professional athlete in calisthenics and advanced bodyweight movement, I analyzed yoga and Pilates down to the nooks and crannies and was able to understand that a lot of those separate realms, like nature itself and so many other things, can coexist, in harmony and work very well. Because a lot of the things that we do naturally with our body primarily come from movements like yoga and Pilates. When you're looking at yoga, you're looking at taking the body and trying to relax itself, focus on internal breathing, depending on the type of yoga that you're doing, because there's so
Right.
many different types. But in the focus of yoga, it's focusing on a lot of mobility, a lot of stretching, and internal breathing and stuff like that, which is great. You want to be flexible, but there's a side effect to that. Too much mobility puts you at a high risk of injuries, and then when you look at Pilates, you look at a form of Pilates that takes bodyweight movements, but works on trying to collectively take the body as one whole thing and activate it. You take still those individual body parts as well, but you're working on tension, working on isolated movements, through, resistance and, and cables and stuff like that allow you to really collect the body. So one form that takes the body of loosening, relaxing, while one takes the form of collecting those small muscle fibers and working on those different, twitch fibers that need to be, fired on response. You see the difference, but when you put those together, those naturally work very well with our human body naturally. And then now when you look at weight training and all of that, you have to put all of that into consideration, that when you're doing weight training, you don't want to be too mobile, because your body needs to have the right amount of tension that can brace the weight.
Right.
But when you are too tight, you lose the restriction that you need for range of motion and mobility as well. So you have to now kind of find that sweet spot of mobility and added tension, which yoga gives you mobility and Pilates gives you active tension, to be able to kind of coexist right in the middle and be able to allow yourself to, move through those weighted movements.
So you pretty much observe what you need to get from them and applied it.
Yeah.
Basically. Okay, that's perfect, because I was wondering that, because anybody that goes through the Equinox program, I love to get the feedback from them, because I know what that program is like and how much they teach you it and how much you have to, apply it to your clients. So,
but to be able to apply it to your clients, you have to apply it to yourself first.
Yes, that's right.
You have to live the teaching.
Yes, right. That's right.
You can't teach it to your clients when you haven't experienced the feeling, because then you don't know what you're feeling that your clients need to feel.
Yeah.
So Equinox is an ongoing education through physical learning, but mental as well. And you put yourself through the grind every single day, that you can now pass what you've done to yourself to your clients.
So where were you first introduced to the physique competition realm? Was that through Calisthenics or through the gym?
That was through the gym.
Okay.
So in that realm, that was something that's always been a part of me growing up. We've all been a fan of bodybuilding, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Olympia,
Absolutely.
all of that, Arnold Classic and all of that. But, the thing that we also do know is, sometimes it's not what you know, but who you know. And finding that connection to help you get into that realm. And that was something that I wanted to always dab into, but I didn't know who to dab into with.
Right.
I knew the realm very well. I'd always like to mess around and practice and all that, because, physique shows and bodybuilding is a form of choreography. It's a form of dance and movement. It's art by itself. And I've lived in that realm of art and stuff like that before. So I kind of knew the movement and the fluidity and everything that was needed, but I needed to get the connect. Yeah. And I met some wonderful, great people that I work with now to this day, that are friends and are close to me like family. And, we spoke and we sat down and discussed more. And then one thing led to the next. And I met their coach that, I sat down with, and we analyzed, and I told her about my backstory, and I understand where she was and where things were. And one thing led to the next, and I started to just put myself in that realm, because it was something I was wanting to do, and maybe it wasn't the right time for me back then, but if you let time just move on its own, things fall in that right path and the right timing. And I just felt like it was a perfect time for me to dab into that, because I allowed myself physically and mentally to learn so much more, that will in the future only be added growth.
Right. Now you have your pro card,
Yes.
right? And I'm not seeing you've been in the was it INBF?
Yeah,
Uh,
so there are many leagues in physique shows. That's another real challenging thing to look at because you don't know which league you want to be in. It's like a team, you know, and
right, right,
who do I want to join? So I took the time to look at some of the different teams and organizations and see what would be like the best fit for me. Naturally, any organization would be a best fit for me because it's what you do to mold yourself into that organization, you know, to be a part of it. You'd have to work no matter what. You have to put yourself into it. But something that can at least kind of just get my feet wet a little bit in that direction. And there was one organization that I originally started with, IPL,
right.
International Physique League. And that was an organization that was natural.
Mhm.
You know, with shows like that, you know, there's a lot of things like people who take steroids and all these, you know, supplements and all this. And IPL was an all natural show that took the hard work and determination of just the human body and its, you know, capabilities and allowed you to progress that and express that on stage.
Right.
And
Now I
that's when I
IPL
got my
was
pro card.
IPL was one of the is a newer organization.
Yeah, it's growing still to this day. It
Right.
is very known now at this point. It's really more known in the East Coast than in the West Coast. So it's more only manifested in, you know, more in Brooklyn and more in like LA a little bit. But it is slowly, you know, branching out still to this day. I still, you know, follow them a lot and everything and see where everything has gone because they were the platform that got me into it to begin with. So you can never forget about them.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
But at some point, I did deviate from them because I wanted to now step into the bigger leagues a little bit. And now I'm with an organization called well, it's like INBF.
NBF, yeah.
So you have
Yeah,
WNBF, which is like the national leagues, really. And the INBF
it's
is
international.
international.
Yeah, yeah. So how has that transition been? Like same mindset walking into it?
Still the same mindset. The mindset doesn't change. The mindset is what it is: determination, focus, analyzing. You know, understanding my execution from point B when I walk into how I finish. What changes now is the entire environment itself. What is required of me? It's not required in calisthenics. It's required of weights now. It's required of um, rest still, but it's also now a little bit required more of executing, exerting a little bit more of the body on top of having to control that.
Right. So I know of course diet plays a major role. That's probably the worst part, isn't it? And I noticed that like especially in the IPL, there's a more creative side. Like unlike physique competitions with MPC, where a lot of calisthenic athletes ventured into that realm. So Dark Knight and those guys, even Juice, you know, jumped into that realm, and it's more standard, just stand pose. IPL allows you to be a lot more creative, which goes back to like you know, like when you see Kai Green with his mask on and all this stuff dancing more. Did that attract you with a whole dance and art
Yes,
background, that
that's what
creativity,
that's
that ability to just get creative? Because as soon as I saw that, right, and I saw that that was an aspect of it, I remember speaking to you in the past, and you said that you were into dance and art, and I was like, oh, he fell perfectly into this.
yeah.
Is this a story of your life? you are at you are always in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Am I mistaken?
You know,
This is a new league. It's the same thing. It's
the
a new
universe
sport.
knows how to unfold. You know, like I said, just trust the system, let the universe just unfold naturally, and you'll find your place in the right area. If you put yourself in the right circle, the right people, you can fall into just a surprise amount of, environment and circles. And that was one of it that fell in that right area because of what I loved about it. The creativity and artsmanship and choreography, it was so captivating just watching it growing up that I wanted to be in that realm. And yes, in that realm of those physique shows, there are different categories, and some categories have you really just standing and taking those poses, more, which is great. But the body itself is art,
Right.
and you have to be able to execute that, as gracefully as flawless, and express a form that people only can imagine with their mind, but now that you can show them and let them see it with their eyes physically, it brings a whole different element to the stage. And that's what I loved about bodybuilding.
Right.
Or in the focus of what it was, old school, or whereas now like classic.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
it takes the realm of what I have to wear is like those, Speedos. Where, like I said, the entire body is art.
Yes. Yes.
Some of these organizations and categories, you wear these short trunks that, don't show a lot of the legs in the focus. Oh, okay, I see what you're doing. All right.
That's John McCloud on point, right?
Perfect. But you can clearly see that the full representation of the body from top down is executed. The aesthetic structure, the separation in those muscles, everything down to the nooks and cranny of how you stand and hit those poses and how you execute flawlessly from one movement to the next. And like we've discussed in the past, when it came to also like calisthenics, that realm played a very similar role. When I touched that bar, when it came to the freestyle, it was how can I execute my movement from point A to point B to C to D without coming down.
Right.
That whole park is your stage. And you are in front of a crowd of people. But at the end of the day, you are there by yourself in your mind. And you have to be able to stay true to yourself and execute it as best as you can, clean and flawless.
Yeah.
And that's what I love, because I love finding things that can coexist with each other, that are maybe different totally, but can find harmony, or things that have similarities that just need to, at some point in time, attract naturally.
Right. Now, going into that realm, physique competition, bodybuilding, you must have had a coach.
Yes.
Now, not only one coach, maybe the same coach for not only your nutrition and the bodybuilding aspect of it, which is your training, somebody to look at you and say, we need to work on your shoulders, work on your pecs. You need to lean out a little more, giving you that plan, but also opposing coach. Did you have the same coach or multiple coaches?
Same coach, really. My first coach, it's nothing to, be surprised by or whatever, but my first coach was a female. Mm-hmm. Her name was Jamil, and I love her till this day. And she's competed herself. And she was my posing coach, my trainer, and my nutrition as well. Nice. And for most athletes, they like to have a posing coach and a nutrition coach, but she was all in one for me. She was a total package, and that was something that I wanted to look as well, because you want to be able to make things easy for you with simplicity and form, so you don't have to make it too strenuous for yourself.
Right.
It's already difficult to diet and go through all of that. Now you have to work with one person and another person. No, you take the time to try to make it as simple as you can, so you can get through the execution as clean as possible. And I found someone through, working with Equinox, two of my other great friends that introduced me to her, and one thing led to the next. And, I was right in that realm where I needed to be, and continuing going forward into it now. I'm not with Jamil anymore because she had to move and live her own life, but I am working with her coach that trained her, which then she applied all that training to myself as well. So technically I stayed in the same realm of where I needed to be. So now I'm training with her coach, which is a male now, but the transition doesn't change. And his name is Leo, and he is an athlete as well. And he was a competitor in the Arnold's, competition. So he's been on stage, and working with him now to this day has been an amazing journey. And I met with him actually today, and we crushed legs. So you guys can go to my Instagram page and follow that journey. But yeah, it's been an amazing journey going through it, and I'm still in a realm where I still have a lot to want to learn and grow with, and I'm not ready to give that up anytime soon.
So do you have anything planned for this year as far as competing?
Actually, before the whole pandemic thing kind of went into motion, darn you, I had shows already kind of executed and planned that I wanted to do. I don't do that many shows because it's very exhausting and taxing on the body to diet and go through all of that as it is. So I planned out very well which shows I wanted to do. Obviously, I try to stay at least like 3 to 4 shows a year. And I just pick the ones that are, it's also costing as well financially to save up and do all of that, dieting and paying for the competition. So picking the shows that were at least in the New York district range. The furthest I would have to go when I was in those competitions was like White Plains. And we did, fly out one time to go to Sacramento. And that was a great experience, going out there. But I haven't stepped anywhere outside that realm. I always stay at least in a close range so I can kind of also play it smart with financial to get me ready for the next one.
Right. Compared to calisthenics, this is actually a fan question. It's actually one of my favorite questions because I looked at a lot of the questions, and you pretty much covered some of them already. And just because it was some of the questions I was going to ask you already. But this one stuck out to me. They asked which one was harder, calisthenics or the body weight. But what I really want to know is which one do you feel more fulfilled?
Oh, that's a question. Which one do I feel more fulfilled?
Like you walk away from it feeling like the most accomplished. Ooh, I think I got him.
You hit a nerve on that one. Honestly, and I want to answer this carefully only so that it's very clear to myself, with my answer, but also very clear to the fans and everyone that wants to know naturally. I'm not fulfilled. I'm not fulfilled in terms of meaning like I'm complete with either one of them because there is still so much for me to really grow in both of them. I do know there will be one that I will be stopping at some point, and I can easily say that will be bodybuilding at some point because I want my foundation to always be what I live and die with.
Okay.
And that's naturally going to be, calisthenics and body weight. That is my foundation. I use weight training as my aesthetic training. I use calisthenics as my strength and my real progression and focus because it is like I said, it's my DNA, it's my blueprint. I can never let that one go.
Right.
So I will always forever stay true to that. Bodybuilding is a journey that at some point will come to an end, and when it does, I will take the time to sit back and appreciate everything that I have come across and met and accomplished going into it. So I can't say which one is fulfilling because they're both still a journey that I am on right now going through with, but I know I will be coming to a closure with one of them.
Okay. See, that's about the most perfect answer you could give.
That was fulfilling.
Yeah.
That was a complete answer.
So okay, so answer me this. After you've had enough of bodybuilding and said, you know what, I'm going to step back from it, would you teach other people how to become bodybuilders?
Yes. I've already taken the time to think this over real carefully. I've even put it in my post. I'm at a point in my life where I love choreography. I do love art naturally. It's something that if I ever need to, I can always want to fall back on that realm. I would love to be a posing coach.
Mm.
With bodybuilding, the thing that I love right now more about it is being able to be a poser / entertainer. And I love being on stage and coming up with routines and choreographies to songs that allow me to express how I feel at the moment. At some point, do I, I've even spoken to like Abs, shout out to Abs because he's also into that realm right now.
Right.
We're in two different organizations. And the organization that he's in, NPC, is one of the more national organizations that allow you to get into the realm of Olympia or, Arnold.
Right.
And I've always dreamt about wanting to be in that realm and be on that stage. And that requires me to tap into a different type of mode and determination to want to be on that part of the stage, so I have to put my body through a lot more. And I feel like right now, mentally, I'm not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to be there, but right now I'm at a point where I just want to keep myself at a nice pace where I'm still in control of what I do without overexerting or injuring myself. And right now, I just love being a poser / entertainer.
I mean, I agree because I think you going to IPL was a good move on your part because I mean, from the first time you came out until you became pro, I was like, this is where he belongs. This is where he belongs. You look natural on that stage.
Yeah, I love the IPL where it is. And coming into INBF right now, into W/WNBF organization, I love them as well. They're also a real, national and natural organization.
Right.
And I still love that realm. And even if I get into NPC, I won't deviate from natural. It only allows me to, show my, focus and hard work naturally without having to take things. And I know many athletes who are natural in that NPC realm. Mm-hmm. And, they might not really make it to the top because at this point, there's a lot of guys that are way past that realm because they take a lot of stuff. But it still shows a lot of hard work and determination that they can still make it where they are at.
Yeah, yeah.
So, for anyone just wanting to get into that organization or in that realm, just because you see these guys where they're at, don't feel like you have to put yourself in their realm to get there. You can do it a natural and hard way, and even when you're taking things, you still have to push yourself to that limit. So take the time to be careful with your decisions and your executions and where you are, and make sure that what you're doing is for the right reasons. Yeah. And for the beneficial purposes in the long run.
Yeah, because I mean we've seen endless athletes and the after effects of steroids and all those enhancement drugs and everything else, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty. Even the amount of time they spend lifting ridiculous amounts of weight, we see the after effects of that. So for competitions, to have that natural competition where people don't have to do that, all of these actions, you see that they've just backed away from a lot of that. And it's for a reason because there's the longevity of the athlete. You like you said, you're gonna know when you are tired of this. You're gonna know when you're tired of eating white rice and asparagus and plain chicken and or fish and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're gonna know when you're like, all right, that's enough.
Yeah.
All right. So you competed multiple areas. You also judged.
Yes.
I've been a judge with you at Pull Up Hard Jam. Talk to me about how difficult it is to be a judge.
It's not difficult. I don't want to say it's difficult. I want to say different too, you know. You may say it's difficult, but in the realm of where it's difficult, it's not impossible.
Right.
And we've done it enough at this point now, and you've done it longer, but I've come to it at least, you know, getting up to your status of where you are now and being in that realm of judging that, you know, it's very capable. You know, it's a different perspective look on the realm of where I was and where you were as an athlete, being in that position, competing, to now taking it more in a controlled realm and looking at it and now being able to analyze and, you know, fine tune all the other athletes to allow them to execute that same drive and focus that we put ourselves through.
Right, right. Was there ever a time when you were judging someone or just judging in general that you were like, I should have competed?
All the time. All the time. You know, being in that realm now and judging, every time I'm at a competition, and I see a lot of these athletes put up these numbers and that fire and drive and sweat and those roars, those digging it deep of the pain and struggle that you go through, that's what I love.
Yeah.
That's what I've always loved about anything that I did in life, whether it was sports, calisthenics, or whatnot. It was the discipline.
Yeah.
It was the training that we put ourselves through, all that sweat and blood that we put ourselves through, that no one can truly understand unless you have experienced it yourself. Witnessing it is one thing.
Right.
Experiencing it is a whole nother thing. And that by itself carries so much raw story by itself, you know, and footage that you can, you know, see, and it's like, oh man, I see it. I wish I could feel that. Do you really want to feel it? Because it's brutal.
Right. Yeah.
But that's something that just holds so much, you know, internal, you know, value that you can only experience.
Yeah.
And those were the things that I loved more. When it came down to the competition, I loved it, yes, but I always loved coming back to the lab. I always loved coming back to Wingate and just getting back to the training.
Yeah, and you were one of the first athletes to be booked for a bar brawl.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and you've been through maybe like 3 or 4 of them.
Three right now.
3. The
Yeah.
last one was like with Dark Knight.
Four really. And one of them was like a team competition.
Right. Right.
But if you're looking at it like just on bar brawl, which is the one-on-one aspect of the competition, it's 3.
Yeah. So for those competitions, because most of the time when you did compete in those competitions, it was around the time when you were like off the scenes. You know, like everybody didn't see you as much, right?
Yeah.
So, but of course, you were training.
Of course.
You never walked into it out of shape, because I was looking. I was looking. I was like, nah, he's still on point. Yeah. So, were you? Was Doc setting them up? Was he setting everybody else up for a loss? Or you were just like, or did he like call you? Was like, nah, I got somebody for you to wash up, or was he like, hey, do you want to compete? Did he have to convince you at all?
No, he never needed to convince me. It was he and I knew, and I know, and he knew very well. You don't have to say much to get me in it. I'm stage ready and I'm bar ready 24/7. I live in a realm where I'm ready for battle on the snap of the finger. Put up the bat signal in the sky, you know. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready for life in general. You know, that's the focus that I'm always going to be in 24/7. One thing to also clarify where it was in the moments where everyone was wondering where was D real, I was, yes, in the realm of bodybuilding. Right. So I was in the middle of getting ready for stage shows as well as getting ready for calisthenic competitions. And both of those worked very well for me because the point of the bodybuilding shows was to deplete my body and cut me down to get ready for a stage, which worked very well for calisthenics as well because I wasn't too heavy, you know, and it cut my body down where my body had to tap into a different energy resource to fuel me, you know, for a competition in calisthenics. And then I had to get my body ready for a competition. So out of the 3 barbells that I had, I was a week away from a bodybuilding show.
Wow. Wow. Do you ever train with other bodybuilding athletes?
Yes, I have worked with you know, with Hakeem. So
Okay.
you know,
but like not the calisthenic guys, but like, has there ever been a moment where you trained with people that were purely out for the bodybuilding aspect of it, and they noticed you were working harder than them?
Yeah.
Because I hear this a lot.
Yeah.
Because again, when you're bodybuilding, you're just focusing on this muscle and just letting this muscle grow. That means 5 to 6 sets or whatever. You go heavy, you go light, whatever else. But then a calisthenic athlete would do that whole workout and still throw on push-ups, pull-ups, dips, and everything else that they would usually do just because it's just in their blood. Was that the same feeling you had when you worked out with these guys?
Yeah. Yeah. I opened up a lot of eyes, you know, in the focus of where training was, because even when I'm in the gym and I work with a lot of my coworkers, I try to bring them into a realm that allows a little bit more control than exertion. You know, when you're doing a lot of weight training, there's a lot of just explosive movements going through it, but where's the control?
Right.
You know, we know in weight training you're using a lot of type 1, type 2 muscle fibers, and one requires a lot of quick burst explosions, while one requires a little bit more control. And I'm always about control. You know, I work out with some of the guys that I train with, you know, in the gym, and you know, we're doing the same exercises, but we're not in the same page in terms of where the focus is. Now, one is doing these reps fast and explosive, and I'm focusing on my negatives and my, you know, my eccentrics and my concentrics and slow motions, so I can feel everything.
Right.
You know, so, and then when we get into movements now that require weighted pull-ups, I can do literally way more reps than they can, and I'll be like, that's a shame. Like, you can put up 315, 405, and all of this. You can't give me 25 and more reps.
Right.
And I'm at a point now where I want to be able to give back, you know, or to be able to express the focus of where my training is and let them know that your form of training isn't complete.
Right.
You know, that you still have a lot to incorporate that can now only just maximize your level of training to allow you to tap into a way greater achievement and focus. And that is the blueprint of functionality. When you know how to activate these muscles, you know, through a lot of functional movements and body weight, when you get to the weight, you can control it. You know how to fire it and activate it. You know how to shut it off when you want to. You know how to fire it when you want to. And that is all through body weight.
Yeah, I think I always say, once I saw like Soul Akeem's presence in the bodybuilding industry, of the key aspect of when he would be around other athletes and how they would look at him and how they would question him. And I saw the same thing with you. I think you guys, Abs, Juice, are going to change a lot of these athletes are going to go approaching their workout, because you guys don't have any off days. Like, you know, you see the regular bodybuilders, you see them with a gut, they're telling you they're bulking.
Yeah.
You guys say it, you still look like you're ready for the stage. I'm bulking. I'm like, really?
Okay.
I'm cutting. I can still see your abs. Where are you cutting? So showing the world that this is a lifestyle, truly a lifestyle, and not just for competition.
Right.
is literally changing the game and changing the outlook on how people see the sport. Because again, they are so used to it just being for the stage, taking supplements, doing crazy diets, working yourself to almost destructive, patterns and things of that nature, when there are other ways to achieve this. And you guys are showing exactly how to achieve this without a lot of the destructive aspect of it. And I applaud you for that. I might come to you for some competition prep, because I've been backing away from it for a long time. So now I'm older, so I'm joining the seniors and hope that nobody's as cut as me.
And the beautiful thing about it as well is this form of training doesn't need to just be used to be on stage. You can use this form of training to get ready for a wedding. You can get ready for you can get ready for summer.
Yeah.
This is not just used for stage. Because if you really want to look at it in a more full, broad perspective, the stage is the world.
Right.
The stage is allowing people to see you, and if you want to look at it and say your wedding, well, you're going to walk in front of a good crowd of people that are your friends and families, and they want to see you look good in that suit, or in that dress.
Yeah.
If you want to look at it, you're on vacation, you want to go to the beach, you want to be able to wear that, that swimsuit, that bikini the right way, them trunks, and show them calves and legs, So look at everything on a bigger picture and a bigger scale, and never look at it just in a small perspective, because there's a way bigger canvas, perspective of this outlook that needs to be seen from a further look.
Yeah. And to know and to know that your look is not like everybody else's look. I've had clients that lost 30 pounds and didn't have the cuts,
right,
but were elated because they were able to walk up the stairs without losing their breath.
Yeah,
that's a huge accomplishment.
That's
still being the best you. That's still looking good in that suit.
Something better than nothing. Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell me this: you're one of the elusive people on social media, and I don't blame you, because if it wasn't for businesses that I'm associated with, CCA, pushing weight and things of that nature, I wouldn't be on social media. To be perfectly honest with you, I would not be posting all these pictures. Everything that I post is for a reason, and I try to manage my time. How do you maneuver social media?
I maneuver it the best I can by showing my face from time to time with information, and raw footage of my journey, of my hard work and everything that I go through. Because everybody wants to know, who, David is naturally. And for the people who work with me and live with me every single day and I see all the time, they know about my life, yes. But to everybody that wants to know who D Real is, you either have to witness that in person, or from time to time, when you can see me on social media or anything that focus, I can, show you that footage in video, So I just use it right now as a gateway where I step my foot in from time to time, say hi, here's some videos, here's some cookies, absorb it, use it however you want to use it. Bye.
Yeah.
And then I'm out, and I'm back in the lab, I'm really going to always get back to the lab. I'm always going to come back home and get back to where, I'm in a safe point, because I have my circle to keep in check and clean and keep the foundation strong.
Well, bro, it's been a pleasure. Like you're one of my favorite athletes.
I appreciate it, man.
First and foremost, because I couldn't beat you. You always kept me on my toes. And I always said that
I want to be beat.
Oh, of course. See, I say the same thing. I go into these contests wanting to be beaten, because then that's when I get that battery on my back. That's when I'm like, oh, he beat me. Like when we talked about judging, I remember one time I was judging, and I think it was Ice from Barbarians.
Oh,
He did his pull-ups, and he must have hit like 55 or something like that. And I'm sitting there like, how much did I do last year, the year before that? I was like, did I ever hit 55? Right then and there, I was about to switch shirts. But that's the passion. Yeah, that's the passion of this. You know, as much as I like judging and everything else and organizing, still that athlete at heart.
That fire within us is always going to be there. You know,
it won't go anywhere.
It's just aching to just burst out. It's aching to just, you know, hit that ceiling, hit that cap, and pop off, and just be like, "Yo, take this. Let me get that shirt."
Right.
And just go right in. You know.
Yeah.
So I don't blame you. We have that itch that we can never get rid of, and nor should we get rid of it. You should let it itch. And when you're ready to scratch it, you know, you scratch at it. And then when you're ready to, you know, want to cure it, you know where to go.
That's right.
On that bar, you know, on that stage or wherever you want.
Bro, so.
Hold up.
Uh-oh.
D-Real.
We got an appearance.
Where were you at four vacations ago with all this cutting physique body talk, huh? With all this information. When I was trying to get right for the cruise, I didn't know where D-Real was at. Huh? I was out here looking like the Michelin Man, D. Round, mound, and rebound. I needed your help, brother. Nah, I just messing with you. But nah, I really enjoyed the knowledge, man. That was phenomenal. I enjoyed so much of it. And just the perspective that you put it in. I had to jump in here and show you some love and respect, man, because you're one of the athletes that I watched like firsthand, because I had to be on the other side of you while you set a record, and I'm trying to break my own record now. Just get to 10, John. I was saying this so many times. Don't look at him. Don't look. Just close your eyes. Just get to 10, and he's over there like, yo, all right, he took first place, and he didn't even get off the bar yet. And I just say, you know, who is this dude? How in the world? But man, throughout your entire career, and as you transition over from myself to everybody in the bar community, we appreciate you so much, man, because you've given your heart and soul, and we know for a fact that you've given your heart and soul. And it's not easy to do what you've done on a consistent basis. And we joked earlier about the trophies, but man, I tell you, man, if you ever get crowded in your house, I got room. You don't got to say nothing. We don't got to tell nobody. I'm going to tell my wife, I just look, I found this, you know, I'm storing this up. You know, I was a legend. When did your name become David? Don't look at that right now. Just look at the fact that it's shiny and it's nice. Nah, but we appreciate you, bro. I just had to come on and show you some love.
And likewise, man, everyone, you know, you could look at as the veterans or even to the people that are in now, you know, you all have a part to do with who I am now and where I've come to be. And I can't be any more appreciative and blessed to know that I've come to meet some of the most greatest people, you know, where I am now and in the past, you know, and wherever we may be in the future or wherever it is. I'm always going to be thankful for, you know, people like you and Doc and, you know, Zeph and, you know, so many other people that, you know, I can sit for days and bring up, and even coming with the names, there's so much stories behind it and blood, sweat, and tears that people just can't see. That something that they would really have to just experience it for themselves. But, you know, who I am now has only been slowly growing and manifesting because of everybody, you know. So I appreciate everything for what Calisthenics has, you know, done for me, for where it was and for where it, you know, it still grows to be.
Yeah, man. And, you know, we're honored to have witnessed you work.
Thank you.
Bro, but I still say, man, if everybody watching, right, pay attention to something real quick. Notice he has that same cut in his eyebrow. I'm gonna grow the goatee back. I think we twins, bro.
We could be, man. You know, they always say, you know, statistics always kind of say like you have like two doppelgangers in the world that kind of look like you. You know, and if you really take the time and you put us next to each other, we kind of got some facial features.
I'm gonna do that side-to-side picture later on with the goatee. See what everybody.
This is the before and after.
That's right. Yeah.
Yo, I got one more question. I got one more question for you, D-Real. A good one. What would you tell your younger version of yourself?
I hear this question a lot, and the thing I would tell my younger self is stay true to yourself. Stay true to yourself and trust the system. You know, don't judge things before you haven't even tried it. Stay true to who you were and what you did that got you where you were. If you started just sitting down and watching and analyzing things, never deviate from that. Keep doing it, because when you do something that constantly works for you, why do you need to change it? You know, you never need to change it. You can always, polish it and, and craft it to be even more stronger, and the foundation is better where it is, but you never need to start a whole new, foundation that is constantly been working for you.
Right.
But I would just tell myself to trust the system and keep doing what you have done from the beginning, because it has been working for you, and people always watch you and see you grow where it is, and it inspires so many others.
Absolutely. So in closing, we always ask everybody we bring on here to leave a gem, usually related to exercise, working out, routines, and so forth. But I want you to answer, since you're in the realm of teaching, what advice do you give to anybody that walks into a gym and is thinking about getting a trainer?
Allow yourself to grow. Allow yourself to grow. You will come to a point where you feel like you can do it by yourself, and you may see results. The things that you do may be working, but there's nothing wrong with getting a little bit more help, or again, understanding and looking at working out or seeing results in a different perspective. You're only just seeing it through one, window, when there are countless windows to look through. There are countless doors to be able to walk through and experience so many different things. You can stick to what you know, but at some point you're going to hit a wall and plateau, and you're going to need a little bit extra, push or a different direction or approach to get around that wall that you're hitting, or break through it and allow yourself to grow again. So I would say don't hesitate on wanting to get a little bit help or a little bit more of a different approach to wanting to grow.
What do you tell a guy that comes in, he's 45 years old and he has 2 kids and a wife and a full-time job, and he says he wants to become a bodybuilder?
I tell him he can still do it, because in that category we have, those age groups. We have 40 and up. We have grandmaster. Those ages of those people who are in their 50s and up, who have executed and shown, not in the years, but just in that one day, that their body has been through in years. And you have to give them a round of applause for being able to step on that stage at that age in one day. We award you that much success that you have put for years. So no matter what age you are, 70, 80, wherever it is, everyone deserves, credit where it's due.
Well, D, like I said, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Always been one of my favorite people.
Right.
Love when we link up. We always got jokes.
I'm looking forward to linking up and getting some more workouts in and everything.
Absolutely.
And talking more.
Absolutely. When the warm weather come back around, or before, either way, man, all the best to you, your family, everybody. Wish you the most success. We'll be monitoring everything you do. Graphics. That is D-Real, aka David Boutros, since he put his government name up top. As always, we are sponsored by Pushing Weight, the originators for the community, by the community. This is the CCA Podcast, bringing you calisthenics as we see it, as we want it to grow. We will help it grow, and these are the people that were there from the start. So this is me signing off. Salute to you, D. We'll speak again soon. All the best.
Bless.